The planet Viral 9 was quiet. Its people lived in peace. They farmed. They mined. They traded with other worlds. There had never been war on this planet. Until now. It began with a flash in the sky. Not a star, not a comet. Something darker. Something fast. The Varelians watched as strange ships entered their orbit. At first, they thought it was trade. But trade ships didn't fire weapons. The sky turned red. Commander Luro ran through the main colony building. His blue skin was bruised, his breathing heavy. He shouted, "Get to the shelters. Protect the young." Explosions rocked the ground. Screams echoed from the outer fields. The invaders, raiders, moved fast. Black armor, red eyes, no mercy. The Varelians had no army. They had only workers and builders. "We can't stop them," said one council member. "We must call for help." "But who?" Luro asked. "No one will come this far. We must try." Inside a dark room, an old machine sat, cold and unused for years. It was a galactic range distress beacon, only used in the worst emergencies. The council had warned, never use it unless all hope is lost, because if the wrong ears heard it, Luro didn't care. He activated the beacon. "To any who hear this," he said, "this is Viral 9. We are under attack. We have no army, no defense. If you can help, please, come, save us." The signal went out, across nearby systems, then further than it was designed to go, all the way to a place no one ever contacted. A place marked DEATHWORLD, a void on every star map. Earth. In a dark shipyard on the edge of Earth's orbit, an old console blinked. "Signal received," said a voice. 3 people turned their heads. They were not soldiers. They were not politicians. They were Deathworlders. One of them, a tall woman in gray armor, smiled. "Someone's in trouble," she said. Another man with a metal arm cracked his neck. "Do they know what they just did?" "Nope," the third replied. "But we're going anyway." The 3 humans stepped onto an old but powerful ship. It launched into space, silent and fast. Back on Viral 9, the damage grew worse. Entire villages burned. The raiders had taken captives. They demanded resources, slaves, and surrender. Luro stood in the council chamber, eyes filled with pain. "No one is coming," said a voice behind him. Then suddenly, a ship appeared in the sky. It wasn't like the raider ships. It was darker, thicker. It moved like a beast, not a machine. Everyone stopped and stared. "Who is that?" someone asked. The ship landed in the middle of a smoking field. Dust blew in all directions. The ramp dropped. 3 figures walked out. They were tall, heavy boots, full body armor, helmets with glowing visors. They didn't speak. They didn't wave. The leader stepped forward. "Who's in charge?" she asked. I am," Luro said, trying to stand straight. "You sent the signal." "Yes." The humans looked around at the destroyed buildings. "You have raiders," said the one with the metal arm. "Yes." "Where are they?" Luro blinked. "They attacked from the east. Took hostages." The leader turned to the others. "Gear up." Without another word, the humans went back to their ship. They returned minutes later with weapons, not like anything the Varelians had seen, huge, cold, and silent. They walked into the smoke toward the east. No plan, no army, just the 3 of them. The Varelians watched in fear and curiosity. Hours passed. Night fell. Then screams, but not from the colony, from the raiders. Fire lit up the eastern hills. Loud bangs echoed through the air. Luro and the others climbed to the top of the wall and looked out. They saw shadows moving, fast, sharp, silent. And then, nothing. Only silence. At sunrise, the humans returned. Their armor was dirty, their faces still hidden. One of them carried a small alien child. Rescued, they placed her gently in her mother's arms. The Varelians were speechless. "Who are you?" someone whispered. The humans paused. "We are from Earth," the leader said. "The Deathworld," said another Varelian, stepping back. The leader looked around. "You asked for help," she said. "You got us." Far above, in space, the Deathworlders ship sent out a second message. Not a call for help, a warning. To those who attack the weak, it said, they are not alone anymore. The sun rose slowly over the wounded colony of Viralmine. Smoke still hung in the air. The people were quiet, tired, and scared. But their eyes were all focused on one thing: the three humans standing at the edge of the ruined village. They had arrived like ghosts in the night. And now, after wiping out a group of deadly raiders, they stood calm and quiet, like nothing had happened. The leader, a tall woman with short black hair and gray armor, looked around. "Any more threats?" she asked. Luro, the colony commander, hesitated. "They usually come back in waves." "This was only the first." The human nodded. "Good. Then we have time to prepare." The colony council gathered quickly. The humans were invited to speak, but only the leader came in. She removed her helmet, revealing a sharp, focused face with eyes that had seen too much war. "My name is Captain Sarah Kane," she said. "These are my teammates, Nick and Juno. We're from Earth." "Earth is a death world," said one council member nervously. "You shouldn't exist." "We do," Sarah replied. "And right now, we're your best chance." Commander Luro stepped forward. "Why did you come?" "We didn't think anyone from your planet would answer." Sarah looked at him. Her voice was calm. "You called for help. We heard you. That's enough." "But what do you want in return?" another council member asked. "Payment? Power?" Sarah's eyes narrowed. "No, we don't want anything." "Then, why help us?" She paused, then spoke with quiet strength. "Because we know what it's like to be left alone, to face monsters while others turn away." Silence filled the room. No one asked again. Meanwhile, outside the council building, Nick and Juno were already working. They walked the perimeter of the colony, scanning the ground, studying the hills, and marking weak points in the defenses. "These walls are thin," Nick said, "and the watchtowers are too short." "We can fix that," Juno replied. "Scrap metal, old beams, reinforced doors. We've built bases out of worse." A group of young Varelians watched them from a distance, whispering to each other. One brave boy stepped forward. "Are you really from the Death World?" Nick turned and knelt. He smiled behind his helmet. "Yeah, kid. Born and raised." "Is it true there are monsters on your planet?" "Oh yeah," Nick said. "And storms, and poison plants, and animals that can eat you whole." The boy's eyes went wide. "How did you survive?" Nick stood up, his voice serious now. "We didn't have a choice. So we learned, we adapted, and we fought." Back in the council chamber, Sarah pointed to a map. "They'll attack from the east again. Same path. They don't expect resistance, so we'll give them a surprise." Luro watched her mark locations. "Are three of you really enough?" She looked up. "You saw what we did last night. Imagine what happens when we're ready." That evening, the humans began building. They turned old machines into traps. They stacked broken metal into walls. They taught the Varelians how to shoot, how to hide, and how to stay alive. Some were afraid. Others were curious. But one thing was clear. These humans didn't work like soldiers. They worked like survivors. At midnight, a signal came from deep space. The humans intercepted it. Juno listened. Her face went dark. "It's a threat," she said. "The raiders are part of something bigger. A full invasion fleet is coming." Sarah didn't flinch. "How long?" 3 days, maybe less. Nick smiled. Good. I was getting bored. The next morning, the sky was clear, but the tension was high. The colony had changed in just 2 days. Watchtowers stood taller. Walls had spikes. Energy traps waited underground. The Varelians stood guard now, with weapons in hand. The humans walked among them like ghosts, watching, planning, preparing. Luro stood beside Sarah, looking at the rising sun. Why are you really here? He asked again. What makes you risk your lives for strangers? Sarah didn't answer at first. Then she said quietly, because someone helped us once, when we didn't deserve it. Now, it's our turn. Luro nodded, understanding something deeper, something hard to explain in words. That night, the warning came. A Virelian scout ran in, breathless. Enemy ships, 10 of them, coming fast. Sarah smiled. Then it's time. She turned to her team. Positions, no mercy. Nick loaded his rifle. Let's show them what a Deathworlder really is. Juno pulled down her visor. They should have never followed the signal. As the sky filled with red lights and the ground shook with the sound of landing ships, one thing became clear. The humans were not here to talk. They were here to fight. And the enemy had no idea what they were walking into. The night was silent, too silent. The enemy ships had landed, but no attack had started. The Varelians waited behind their new defenses, holding weapons with shaking hands. They looked at the humans for guidance. Sarah, Nick, and Juno stood calm and still. They weren't nervous. They were watching. They're testing us, Sarah whispered, waiting to see what we'll do. Juno nodded. They think we'll panic. Nick smiled. They don't know us. Hours passed. Then, in the middle of the night, the first sound came. A scream. Not human. Not Varelian. It was deep and strange, like something half machine, half beast. A young guard at the west wall dropped his weapon. What was that? Fear, Nick answered. And it's not ours. The raiders were used to weak colonies. They expected frightened people, open doors, and easy loot. Instead, they found spike traps, electric walls, and dead silence. They sent scouts ahead. None returned. Then, they tried sneaking in through the forest. That's when they saw it. A tall human figure in the shadows, glowing red eyes, moving without sound. Before they could scream, it attacked. Juno. She moved fast, quiet like a shadow. Her knives were short but deadly. One by one, the raiders dropped. No noise, no mercy. When they tried to fire back, her armor absorbed the shots. When they tried to run, she was already behind them. Panic started spreading in the raider camp. She's just one, the commander growled. Send the heavy units. While Juno hunted from the forest, Nick had a different job. He waited by the eastern gate, a long plasma rifle in his hands. He watched through his visor, tracking movement. The traps were ready. As the raiders stormed the gates, Nick smiled. He pressed one button. Boom. Flames exploded under the enemy's feet. Dozens were thrown into the air. Nick stepped forward. You picked the wrong planet, he muttered, pulling the trigger. Back at the center of the colony, Sarah stood beside Luro, watching everything from a tower. They're scared, Luro said. I can feel it. Sarah nodded. Fear changes the battle. Once they stop believing they can win, it's already over. But there are more of them, Luro said. Hundreds. Doesn't matter, Sarah replied. We don't fight like they do. Just then, an explosion shook the north wall. Smoke rose. A new wave of raiders pushed forward. Sarah jumped down from the tower. I'll handle this. She walked into the smoke. Her armor glowed. Her gun was large and strange, something the Varelians had never seen. The raiders saw her too. One of them laughed. It's just one human. Sarah raised her weapon. She said 2 words. Hold still. And fired. The gun launched a pulse of energy so strong it threw a dozen raiders through the air. Before they could recover, she charged. She wasn't just strong. She was fast. She punched, kicked, and shot with deadly precision. The ground turned red and black. The raiders screamed and ran, but she chased them. By morning, the field outside the colony was quiet. No more screams. No more attacks. Just the smoke and silence. The Varelians slowly stepped outside. They looked at the destruction, the broken weapons, the empty helmets of the raiders. And then they saw the three humans walking back, calm, quiet, and alive. Not a single scratch. Luro met them at the gate. You defeated them. Sarah looked at him. That was just the first wave. Luro's eyes widened. There's more. Sarah nodded. They'll send their main fleet now. We hit them hard. They'll want revenge. Nick cracked his knuckles. Let them come. Juno checked her blades. We'll be ready. The council met again. Fear filled the room. But now, there was also something new, hope. They will destroy us all, one council member said. Even the humans cannot stop a full army. But we are not alone anymore, Luro said. And maybe we don't have to be helpless. The Varelians looked at each other. Maybe, just maybe, they could learn to fight too. That night, Sarah spoke to the whole colony. We can't stop what's coming, she said, but we can stand together. You don't have to fight like we do. Just hold the line. Protect each other. Be brave. Luro stepped forward. We will fight. Cheers rose from the crowd. For the first time, the people of Virel 9 felt something stronger than fear. They felt courage. Far away, deep in space, a massive ship moved toward Virel 9. Inside it, the commander of the raiders looked at the reports. 3 humans, he growled. That's all. He didn't understand. But soon he would. 3 days had passed since the last battle. The sky above Virel 9 was clear, but everyone in the colony felt the same thing. Something was coming. The humans had not left. They trained the Varelians every day, teaching them to shoot, to move, to survive. What was once a scared farming colony had started to become something else, a force ready to defend itself. Sarah stood at the edge of the colony wall, looking through her scope at the distant stars. She wasn't smiling. Nick walked up behind her. You feel it too. She nodded. They're close. Big ships, heavy ones. Juno joined them. We've bought time. But the real fight hasn't started yet. Inside the command room, Commander Luro read the last scout reports. Enemy fleet will arrive in less than 12 hours, he told the council. Multiple cruisers. Hundreds of troops. The room went quiet. Can we survive this? Someone asked. We don't have a choice, Luro said. Then he looked at Sarah. Right? Sarah nodded. If we stand strong, yes. If we break, they win. The humans didn't just prepare weapons. They also worked on morale. Nick repaired an old speaker system and started playing music around the colony. Loud drums, fast guitar, and wild singing filled the air. A young Virelian boy asked him, "What is that noise?" Nick grinned. "That's human battle music. Helps us get in the mood." The boy laughed. "It's scary." "Exactly," Nick replied. Meanwhile, Juno helped set traps near the mountain pass. "They'll come from this direction," she told the Virelian fighters. "High ground gives you the advantage. Hit them from above." The fighters nodded. Their hands were shaking less now. They had changed. They were no longer just scared farmers. They were soldiers now. That night, the sky changed. Strange lights appeared above Virel 9. Then, shadows. Massive dark shapes began blocking out the stars. Ships. Big ones. The storm had arrived. Sarah stood before the colony, her voice strong and clear. "Listen up," she said. "This is not about winning or losing. This is about showing the galaxy that you are not weak, that you will not be broken. She looked around. We will fight. We will bleed. But we will not back down. The Varelians raised their weapons. The humans locked their armor in place, and the stars burned red above them. In orbit, inside the lead enemy ship, the Raider commander stood watching the planet. "We'll wipe them out," he said. "Start the landing." His second-in-command hesitated. "The Deathworlders are still down there." The commander growled. "They are just 3. He didn't understand what those 3 meant. Back on the ground, the alarms screamed. Dropships fell from the sky like burning metal rain. Luro looked at Sarah. "It begins." Sarah nodded. "Let's show them what happens when you wake the monsters." As the first wave of ships touched down, the humans and Varelians moved into place. Turrets powered up, traps armed, weapons loaded, hearts pounded. Then, boom, the battle began. The enemy came fast, screaming and firing. But they didn't expect the new colony. They didn't expect trained fighters. And they definitely didn't expect the Deathworlders. Nick held the eastern wall. His plasma rifle sang with fire and fury. Juno moved through the shadows, striking fast and silent. Sarah led from the center, commanding with calm strength, her heavy weapon shaking the ground with every shot. But this wave was stronger, more brutal. Varelians were hurt. Buildings burned. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Luro stood beside Sarah, blood on his arm. "They're pushing too hard." Sarah's voice was firm. "Hold the line. They'll break through." "No," she said, raising her weapon again. "Not today." She fired. The enemy dropped. Just when the line almost broke, something new happened. The civilians came out. Old Varelians, children with slingshots, mothers carrying tools turned weapons. They had seen enough. They would not hide. They would not run. This was their home. The enemy commander watched from orbit. "Why are they still fighting?" He growled. "Why won't they break?" He slammed his fist on the console. His officer looked worried. "Commander, maybe we underestimated them." Back on the ground, Sarah looked at the battlefield. Her armor was scorched. Her team was tired. But they were alive. And so was the colony. "Round 2's over," she said. Nick spat blood. They hit harder. Juno reloaded her weapon. "So do we." Far above, in deep space, more ships were coming. Reinforcements. Big ones. Sarah watched the sky and smiled. "Let them come," she whispered. "We're just getting started." The battle had paused. Smoke still rose from the edges of the colony. Bodies lay scattered across the field, enemy and defender alike. But for now, there was silence. The first wave had been stopped. But the Varelians knew it wasn't over. And the humans knew it even better. In the command room, Sarah stood over a holographic map. She pointed to different points around the colony. "They'll send another wave, bigger, stronger, maybe from multiple sides." Luro nodded. "We barely survived the last attack." Nick stepped forward. "That's why we're not going to wait for them this time." Juno smiled. "We take the fight to them." The plan was simple, but dangerous. The raiders were preparing for a second attack. Their camps and supply ships were set up in the valley just outside the mountain range. The humans wanted to hit them first, while they were still setting up. "This is Deathworld strategy," Sarah explained. "We don't sit behind walls. We strike first, hit fast, hit hard, confuse them, scare them." Luro raised an eyebrow. "Even if we are outnumbered?" Nick laughed. "Especially when we are outnumbered." At night, the team moved. A small squad of Varelian fighters joined the humans. They wore makeshift armor and carried new weapons, designed by Sarah, built by Nick, sharpened by Juno. They crept through the rocky hills, avoiding scout drones and patrols. Sarah whispered, "Stay low. Move silent. Trust your training." The stars above watched them in silence. Then they reached the enemy camp. It was huge, tents, vehicles, gun turrets, and blinking lights. Raiders moved around, unaware that death was already standing at their gates. Sarah turned to the squad. "When I fire the first shot, go loud. Destroy everything you can, then vanish." Juno added, "Leave them confused. Leave them scared." Boom. Sarah fired a shock round into the main fuel tank. Fire exploded across the camp. Raiders screamed. Tents caught fire. Ammo boxes blew apart like fireworks. Juno dashed through the flames, slashing enemy lines, slicing fuel cables, and disabling turrets. Nick climbed onto a truck and dropped EMP charges into control panels. The Varelians fought beside them, brave, smart, and now deadly. The enemy was in chaos. What's happening? Where are they? They're ghosts. No one saw the attackers clearly. Only flashes. Only shadows. Only fear. By morning, the camp was destroyed. The human team returned to Viral 9, tired but alive. Luro met them at the gate. What happened? Sarah dropped a burned enemy helmet at his feet. "They lost their plan," she said. "Now we have the edge." Later that day, the enemy fleet in orbit received the report. Supply base destroyed. Over 50 units lost. No clear sight of attackers. The commander's face turned pale. 3 humans did this. Not just 3 anymore, the officer said. The Varelians are learning from them. The commander stared at the screen. That planet, it's becoming dangerous. Inside the colony, training continued. Juno trained fighters in hand-to-hand combat. Nick helped build small flying drones for scouting and bombs. Sarah taught young Varelians how to stay calm under pressure. She pointed at a young boy named Rayla. "You're scared. That's okay. Use it. Fear keeps you sharp, but don't let it stop you." He nodded. "Yes, teacher." As the next night fell, the sky filled with enemy lights again. Dropships, bombers, fighters. The real storm was coming. But this time, the colony was not afraid. The humans stood at the front. Virelians stood beside them. Weapons ready. Hearts steady. Juno whispered, "So many ships." Nick smiled. "More targets." Sarah looked at the sky. "Let's remind them why they should never have answered our signal." The sky turned red. Enemy ships blocked the stars. Their engines roared like thunder. Hundreds of drop pods fell from the sky, burning through the air like fire arrows. This was it, the final attack. Inside the colony, the people stood ready. Virelians, old and young, trained and brave. Humans, battle-worn, fearless, calm. Commander Luro gave a short speech. "Today, we don't fight to win. We fight to make sure they remember us. We fight because we must." Sarah stepped forward, voice loud. "We are the line. They cross this line. They pay the price." Juno nodded. "No retreat." Nick grinned. "Let's break their teeth." As the first enemy pods hit the ground, the battlefield shook. Metal doors flew open. Raider troops poured out, heavily armed, armored, and angry. But this time, they weren't facing a weak farming colony. This time, they were facing Deathworlders and their students. The battle began. Turrets roared. Traps exploded. Trenches filled with fire and smoke. Juno moved like a ghost. Fast, quiet, deadly. She took out 5 raiders before one even noticed her. Nick stayed with the engineers, fixing guns mid-battle, tossing bombs with perfect aim. Sarah led from the front, her heavy rifle shaking the ground, her command steady and sharp. The enemy expected panic, but they found discipline. They expected fear, but they found fire. They expected easy victory, but they found humans. And humans never make war easy. Hours passed. More enemy waves came, each one stronger. But the defenders held. Until, boom, a massive explosion hit the south wall. A new kind of enemy walker pushed through, twice the size of anything before. It had shields, rockets, and heavy guns. Virelians screamed. Even some humans backed away. Sarah looked at the monster. This thing, it could tear down the whole colony. Nick stepped up beside her. You thinking what I'm thinking? Juno joined them. Of course she is. They ran, straight toward the walker. Bullets flew past them. Lasers burned the ground. But they didn't stop. They were from Earth. They were from the Deathworld. And Earth taught them to punch back. Sarah climbed the walker's leg, shooting and dodging. Juno threw grenades at weak points. Nick opened the back hatch with a plasma cutter. They got inside, fought the crew, took control. 5 minutes later, the walker turned and started attacking the enemy. Everyone cheered. The tide had turned. But the enemy had one more trick. A signal was sent from orbit. And from the largest ship in space, something dropped. Something big. Something ancient. Sarah looked up. Oh no. What is it? Juno asked. Nick scanned it. It's a Titan-class warbot. Automated. Nearly unstoppable. Juno cursed. Can we beat it? Sarah's jaw tightened. We have to. Because if we don't, everyone dies. The colony regrouped. The Titan was still dropping. It would land in the next hour. They had that much time to prepare. Sarah gathered the team. This is our final fight. We give everything now. Luro looked around. No more holding back. Juno nodded. We hit first. Hit fast. Hit hard. Nick grinned. Let's make this machine wish it never came here. Back in orbit, the enemy commander laughed. This is it. This machine will crush them. But deep down, he wasn't so sure anymore. Because every time he sent something stronger, the humans sent back something worse. Down below, the people of Viral 9 prepared one last time. Guns ready. Bombs planted. Hearts steady. Sarah looked at the young fighters. You've become more than survivors. You've become warriors. The boy Rilla stepped forward. We're not afraid anymore. Sarah smiled. Good. She looked at the sky as the giant Titan burned through the clouds. Because death is falling from the sky, and we're going to catch it. The sky broke open. The Titan dropped like a falling mountain, its armored body glowing red-hot as it crashed into the valley near the colony. Boom! The shockwave knocked everyone off their feet. Trees shattered. Rocks flew through the air. When the dust settled, the Titan stood tall, almost 20 meters high. Its red eyes glowed. Its heavy arms turned into weapons. It scanned the colony. Target: human commanders. Sarah stood at the front gate with Juno and Nick. They didn't move, didn't speak. They just looked at the machine. And it looked back. Behind them, Virelian fighters prepared for what could be their last stand. Luro turned to his people. You are no longer the weak. You are warriors now. Today, we fight for everything. The Titan started walking forward. Each step shook the ground. It fired a plasma blast. Boom! The east wall exploded. Screams followed. Nick yelled, "We need to draw it away from the colony." Juno was already running. I'm on it. She jumped onto a hover bike and raced out toward the fields, firing her rifle into the sky to catch the Titan's attention. It turned and followed. The humans had a plan. Nick had placed bombs under the field weeks ago, just in case. As Juno led the Titan forward, Sarah gave the signal. Click. Boom. The explosions hit the Titan's legs. The machine fell to one knee. But it didn't stop. It began to rise again. This thing won't go down easy, Nick said. Sarah gritted her teeth. Then we hit harder. She ran toward the fallen Titan, climbed onto its back using the broken armor panels, and reached the command port. Nick followed, carrying his EMP charge. Juno met them halfway. "We get inside," Sarah said. "We fry its brain. That's the only way." They cut into the metal shell. Inside, the Titan was glowing, hot, alive, buzzing with energy. Automated defenses came online. Turrets popped up. Lasers fired. Juno rolled forward, slicing wires. Nick dropped EMP bombs on the floor. Sarah moved to the core, bright, spinning, dangerous. "Now," she shouted. Nick hit the trigger. The core pulsed, then exploded in light. Outside, the Titan froze. Its arms fell to its sides. It collapsed like a broken statue. The battlefield went quiet. Everyone stared. Had it stopped? Was it over? Luro walked toward the smoking machine. Sarah climbed out of the wreckage. Bloody, burned, breathing. The Varelians cheered. They had won. In orbit, the enemy commander watched the screen. His strongest machine was down. His troops were fleeing. He looked at the Earth icon on the map and whispered, "Never. Send a signal to Deathworlders." Back on Virel 9, the humans stood alone. Juno leaned on her sword. That was insane. Nick wiped blood from his face. "We're still alive. That's something." Sarah looked at the people around her. Varelians hugged each other. Some cried. Some laughed. Children ran to their parents. She smiled. "This is why we fight. Not for power, not for glory, but so people can live." Later that night, a new signal was sent. But this time, it wasn't a call for help. It was a warning. Sent across the galaxy. From a once helpless colony. "We are not weak. We are not alone. We are protected by Deathworlders." And everyone listened. From that day on, no one dared attack Virel 9 again. Not because of fear, but because they remembered what happened when humans answered the call. And what happened when they stood alone and still won. The end.